welcome. I'm Ben Dolan and this is the Shedcast. It's the official podcast of the Irish Men's Sheds Association. We're here today in Gorey Men's Shed in Wexford, and I'm joined by Paul McQuaid and Rebecca McLaughlin. We're going to talk a little bit today about the Good Bike project. Paul, I'm going to start with you. Can you maybe introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Okay, Ben, I'm very happy to be here. Paul McQuaid is my name and I run the Good Bike project. We receive bicycles from the good people of Ireland, restore them and give them to people in Ireland who can't afford bikes. And it started off about 3 years ago, three and a half years ago. At the start of the war, I got a request for 2 bicycles from a Ukrainian lady who had recently arrived in Ireland, and she had gotten her kids into school. She was staying in the Hilton Hotel out in Swords, and she said it was a 45-minute walk to school and a 45-minute walk back, and if anybody had 2 bikes that they could sell her cheaply, she would appreciate it. So this was on a social media post, and I took her number down and sent her a WhatsApp and told her I'd give her 3 bikes. I'd give her 3 of my own bikes. So the day after that, she was obviously very appreciative and probably didn't even believe me. But the day after that, I loaded the bikes onto my cargo bike, all 3 bikes, and cycled out to the Hilton Hotel. And the experience I had giving those people those bikes was pretty profound. The 2 kids were just over the moon, and the little girl just jumped like literally off the ground and hugged me, and then hopped on the bike and lashed around the car park, and the mother was in tears, and it was just a very nice experience. And coming from a cycling background like I do, seeing the effect that a bicycle can have on somebody, especially somebody in like we can't even imagine what it's like for those people who have to flee their country because they've been invaded. So anyway, that was great. No fanfare, no big deal. I got back on my bike and cycled back into town. And on the way back into town, I said, because this was when all the Ukrainians were coming to Ireland, I said, right, I might try and give away a few more bikes. So I got home and I talked to my partner Kelly, and we decided that we would try and give away, I think it was 100 bikes. We set ourselves a figure of 100 bikes. I'm very happy and proud to say that we're very close to giving away our 4,000th bike.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah, it's a hell of a number, and it's been quite a ride getting all those bikes, and it has been done with the help of a lot of volunteers, organisations like the Irish Red Cross, and in the last 2 years it's been the Mountjoy Prison Programme. So it's not just me, it's me and my volunteers and my helpers and a few other organisations. Yeah.
Now we know, like from working with sheds, the difference that it can make when you get a community involved in a project and you get different people involved in the project. I'm going to go back to that in a second, Paul, but if you don't mind, give us a bit of about your own background in bikes before the Good Bike project.
Okay, I was born above a bike shop. I raced full time for 12 years on the continent and all around the world. When I finished racing, I set up a cycling holiday company in the west of Ireland and ran that for 9 years. Right. That was a blast. Running cycling holidays, week-long cycling holidays up and down the west coast of Ireland, genuinely was a blast. But then I ended that and took a year off, and then set up a bicycle rental business in the Phoenix Park, and we ran that for 8 years, and I ended up with a fleet of 450 bikes. Right. And took another year off and went cycling, and then COVID came. So at the start of COVID, so this kind of led me into what I've been doing for the last few years. At the start of COVID, when everything just was shut down so abruptly and crazy and everything, and this new phrase came in all our ears, frontline staff workers. So what I did was I emailed the 5 hospitals in Dublin and told them that if any of the frontline staff workers were pulling bikes out of their sheds or from the end of their gardens and needed them serviced, I would service them totally, completely and utterly for free.
Yeah.
So I spent all of COVID, a year and a half, fixing people's bikes 7 days a week. That was my COVID. So that led me on to wanting to do stuff for people with regard to bicycles. And then as the Good Bike Project kind of commenced and grew and became a thing, I realized that there are thousands and tens of thousands of totally restorable bikes in people's garages, gardens, attics, basements, all over this country, and literally all over the world. And it's kind of been my mission to upcycle as many of these as we can and to get them back in use, because bikes are restorable. Not every bike is restorable. Sometimes rust wins the war. Not every bike is restorable. We're mechanics, not magicians. But most bikes can be brought back to life, and that's what we're endeavouring to do.
Yeah.
And get them to people who can't afford bikes. I believe everybody should have access to a bicycle.
I was just going to ask you, do you come from a cycling family, Paul?
Yeah.
You clearly have cycling in your blood, like it's...
Yeah, my father represented Ireland in the 1948 Olympics, and then he represented Ireland as a manager in the 1968 Olympics. There's actually no family in any sport has represented Ireland in as many Olympics as my family has.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, so it's a big. Like I said earlier, I was born above a bike shop and worked in that bike shop every day literally through the school bag, in the corner of the shop, and went to work in my uniform. So it's all the stereotypes. Yeah, it's just always been bikes.
So in a way, I mean, you're the ideal person for this project. This project and yourself are such a natural. It's been part of your life. You've been used to dealing with bikes in many different ways, in terms of not only cycling but repair and dealing with large amounts of bikes, which is another. That's not a straightforward thing, if you like. I mean, I know from a few bikes. They're bulky. They're not.
Bikes are bulky, yeah.
So can you tell me a bit about how the project works from one end to the other, from getting a bike?
Okay, well, the word is out there for people. Like I sent 4 bikes to an Irish family, a mother and her 3 kids, down in some little village in Kerry last week. The word is out there that I'm doing this, and I'm very happy that it's out there. And people that can't afford a bike, that need a bike, I want to try and get them a bike. Yeah. So how it works is, it's definitely in the Ukrainian community, they all know about what I'm doing. People ring me and say, I have a bike, it's been in my garage for the last 15 years, it's full of dust, would you be interested in it? And that's generally the phone calls I get, like several times a day. I need, with the greatest of respect, to see a picture of that bike.
Yeah.
Because literally at the moment, like I said, we're about to give away our 4,000th bike, but we still have a waiting list of over 300 people around Ireland that have asked for bikes.
Right.
That I just don't have the bikes to give them yet, or don't have the resources to restore the ones that I have currently. So if the bike is one that we need, one that we know we'll need soon, first thing I do is I ask the generous person to, if they can get it to us at our base in the city centre, and if not, we will endeavour to collect it, because it's a fact that not everybody can put a bike in the car and take it from one end of the city to the other. And now, hopefully going forward, if we can find a way to make it work with a few champion sheds around the country, But I'll give you an example. I got a phone call this morning when I was coming down here from a woman in Headford in County Galway,
Right.
saying that she had 2 bikes in perfect condition.
Yeah.
Would I like them? She would like to give them to the Good Bike Project because she'd rather see them being used by somebody. So that it's impractical for me. It's just not doable for me or anybody to drive from Dublin to Headford to collect 2 bikes and bring them back. That's just not doable.
Yeah.
So if we can find a few sheds around the country that are interested in helping this project, if you have a shed and you run a radius of about 15-20 kilometers around that shed, think about the amount of bikes that probably are in garages. If a shed would like to be a champion and have those bikes dropped to the shed, and we can find ways of making this work. It's a completely different story if there's 24 or 25 bikes in Headford or somewhere in that area for me to drive with a van and collect them. So it's about kind of fine tuning and honing and helping each other to find a solution to there's 2 bikes in a shed in a garage, a woman's garage in Headford. How do we get them to the Good Bike Project to have them restored?
Yeah.
And after we restore them, there's a courier company called DPD, and I'm not trying to give them a plug here, but they literally take bicycles from us, 4 or 5 bicycles from us, 5 days a week, and they drive them to Donegal, Galway, Kerry, Athlone, everywhere, you name it. So once the bike is given to us, it will find a new custodian and it will be put back into use.
Yeah, no, it's super. And look, it's one of these projects. I know you spoke at our conference. It's one of these projects that really any sort of shed can get access into on some level. I think, you know, it really fits well, and as you say, it expands the thing. When you get different communities involved, small places around the country, it literally extrapolates the whole thing in terms of what you're able to do and what you're able to deliver. So I suppose, look, we'll talk a little bit more about how, you know, maybe the way sheds can get into, but I want you to tell me something of you know, the benefits for people when the stories you hear about when, you know, a bike has been delivered, it's gone through the process and it's been fixed from being, you know, abandoned or left in behind some wheelie bin somewhere, gone through the process, and when it's gone to a new owner, what's the benefit?
And all ages, I presume. So we're talking about kids, we're talking about students, we're talking about mums and dads. You know, it's across the demographic, isn't it?
Yesterday, I gave a bicycle to a 72-year-old Ukrainian gentleman who had hands like shovels. He was he was a mechanic in Odessa, and he used to cycle to his work, to his car garage every day, and he was just over the moon. And he sent me a picture of him cycling in the park already. So a bicycle, my attitude to a bicycle is it has the ability to change your life for the better. It's not going to change your life at all sitting up against a wall. So there's a certain amount of owner responsibility. But if you can make a bike, like I literally moved house a couple of years ago by cargo bike.
Right.
The only thing I didn't move, and the pictures to prove it, the only thing I didn't move was the double bed, and I gave that a thought too. And I have the pictures to prove it. The bicycle it's definitely a fundamental part of my life, and I don't expect it to be a fundamental part of everybody's lives, but it has the power to change your life for the better. Yeah. And that's I really do believe that. It's not just a toy, it's not just a metal and rubber. It's to me, cycling is I feel every time I cycle I feel privileged to be able to cycle, because there's lots of people who would like to cycle but can't cycle for all the different reasons: financial, health, physical, mental health. So if you're in a position where you can have a bike, I really do think you should look at it just a bit, deeper than it's just a bike, because it has the power to change your life. And now with all the new kind of equipment baskets, and you can do your shopping, and a bicycle is more than just a bicycle to me. So that sounds a bit much, I know, but it's just a big part of and I'm very, one of the reasons I work so hard at this project is because I feel very lucky to be able to have facilitated so many people to be able to cycle. Like a few, I think a month or two ago, we sent 17 bikes down to Achill Island,
Right.
to a few adults and I think about 13 kids, and they're all cycling to school now.
It's brilliant.
Instead of walking or getting, and I have literally hundreds of emails from, it started off mostly women, Ukrainian women and their children, because obviously they fled and the husbands were fighting in the war, and now it's basically anybody who needs a bike. I want to be able to facilitate, and
it crosses, doesn't it, though, all the, it's freedom for kids, it's exploration, it's good for stress, it's good for fitness, but also, we were speaking earlier, it's the economics nowadays. A bike saves you money, you don't have to drive.
It makes sense, it really does. I mean, I was thinking about it coming into today, and what the bicycle represented for me in my life. I've cycled since I was a kid. I still have a bike in the garage. I go out, not a big cyclist, but at times it's been very important to me, and it's meant fun, and it's meant freedom, and it's meant friends. Those are the things that I associate with the bicycle, and they are big things in a person's life. In a funny way, I suppose this brings me in. I'm going to ask you both a little bit about the project and the training unit in Mountjoy, and how that came about, and where that started, because it's that's where I suppose in some ways the tie-in has begun with the sheds and the Irish Men's Sheds Association, and how we've developed that. So how can you tell me a little bit about where that evolved? Yeah.
About 2.5 years ago, I got a phone call from the then Director General of the Irish Red Cross, a gentleman called Liam O'Dwyer. He said, I see what you're doing with the Ukrainians, and it's fantastic, all these bikes and everything. He said, I'm a cyclist myself. Is there any way the Red Cross could help you? So I said, I'd love a bit of help. He said, come on in and let's have a meeting. So I went into his office and we had a chat, and we were talking in general terms about how the project was running, and this was before we even incorporated the name, the Good Bike Project. This was when I was doing, and I think I was doing it like privately myself, and I think I was up around 500 bikes at that stage or something. So anyway, all of a sudden he says, I know the governor of Mountjoy Prison. I said, that's a great little story, Liam. How's that going to help me? Seriously. So he said, leave that one with me. So about 3 weeks later, myself and my partner Kelly and Liam were in Mountjoy Prison at a big round table with a whole load of suits, and the governor and the chief and officers and everything. And the idea for the bike restoration program in the training unit at Mountjoy Prison was born. And I remember my partner Kelly sitting beside me, and she looked at me and she said, and she genuinely said, Paul, I'm not sure you're going to be able to do this, because I was really stretched at the time, 7 days a week, and non-stop requests from Ukrainians at that time for bikes, and I was just really stressed and stretched, but I wanted to, Liam really wanted to get this set up, so I said, okay, let's give it a go. So it was decided that we were going to do this. So a few weeks go by, and there's red tape and bureaucracy and all that kind of stuff, and it came to the day when I was due to go over and meet these prisoners for the first time and start this program. I don't mind telling you that I had absolutely no idea what I was doing with regard to setting up a program or anything like that. I knew bike mechanics, I knew people, I knew bicycles, I knew, I was good with people and bikes. So anyway, again, like I said, it was at a time when I was really, really busy at my workshop, and I said to my longest serving volunteer, an American gentleman called Jerry Case, who subsequently was flown to Washington and presented with an award for outstanding volunteerism by the then Secretary, I think it was Anthony Blinken, whatever his title was, big famous. So anyway, I said to Jerry, will you go over and do this, because I don't see that my time is going to be used wisely by going over and spending 3.5-4 hours. So Jerry gave me a shake, and he said, you're going over there and you're going to make a success of this, right? So off I went. I cycled. I was on, my workshop was on Ushers Island at the time, and I cycled to Mountjoy Prison. And I don't mind telling you that from the very, and this is no exaggeration, and I've been there 2-3 afternoons a week since. From the very, very first moment, that very first visit, every single session that I have done with these guys has been productive on so many levels. It's been an absolutely incredible. And now, by the way, these guys knew nothing about bike mechanics, nothing, but they were mad keen, right? They were very keen to get stuck in. A lot of the bikes that we get donated require like 60% mulligan.
Sure.
Labor intensive. It's getting surface rust off. It's cleaning muck and leaves and stuff off. Dust, all that stuff. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. You don't need to be a qualified class mechanic to be able to help the Good Bike Project. So these guys got stuck in, and a bond has formed between me and them that I never knew could happen. I didn't know what I was getting into. Well, anyway, I think the President of Ireland, President Higgins, congratulated us on our 700th bike last year, and I think we're up about 1,000 bikes now. And I have people in the industry, and this is a fact, I have people in the industry that don't believe some of the before and afters. Because I'm not sending them bikes, I'm not bringing bikes over that were bought on the Bike to Work scheme or the Bike to Shed scheme, as it's sometimes known as, where a bike is just bought and never used. I'm not bringing them over bikes like that. I'm bringing them over bikes that require a full strip down, a full refurbish, a full restoration, and they're the work that we're doing. So it's the phrase this is a win-win-win. This is a win-win situation. There's an extra few wins that we can throw in here. Like, this is upcycling these bikes. This is getting them back into the community. This is helping with integration. This is all those good circular economy, all those new phrases. This is all of those. And I don't like saying, the prisons have loads of time to do it. They're doing this because they want to help, and they see the benefits of a bicycle being restored and been put back into use and being given to people who can't afford bikes. So there's a few more wins in this that I'm pretty happy about.
It's all the feel goods that we know for any of us, make us happier. It's contribution, it's connection, and I guess that's where we kind of started to engage, because once you went into the prison, we've been supporting the training unit in establishing and in developing their shed, and it is an extraordinary space. You walk in there, they're composting, they have a couple of polytunnels, and they have you in there now under the umbrella of the men's shed in there. And I've been in there, I've seen the bikes, I've seen lads working on them, I've seen what they produce. It is absolutely extraordinary. It's a massive contribution. And I think based on the success of that, and seeing how that has worked out, and the benefits both for the people doing the work inside, the lads, but also out in the community, we felt that there was an opening for the broader shed network to engage with the Good Bike Project. So, it works for us. This partnership with you, Paul, is it fits the bill for us. It's a great match for sheds, because sheds, as we know, are SDG champions. We've identified, out of the sustainable goals, we have 5 that we've pinpointed. But sheds are champions for recycling, reusing, as you say. So they were doing the circular economy stuff before it became the circular economy buzzword that it is, And I think sheds are very quiet, below the radar champions in their communities for integration. We know this, we see it. Ben and I on the team, we see it all the time, people being welcomed in, they're very inclusive spaces. So it's a no-brainer for us to be involved in this project with you. So what we really think would work on both sides is to, as you have said, invite sheds. We're looking really at inviting sheds, I guess, to help scaffold the project. And it is about feeding the steady supply of second-hand unwanted bikes that we know, and you're dead right, I have a few, I know, and quite close to me. So we're looking at inviting a number of sheds to become champions for this project. So we're looking at a couple of locations: Galway, Cork, Waterford, Limerick and Portlaoise. And if sheds have capacity in those locations to take up to 25, 30 bikes and to hold them, we can invite other sheds and members of the community to drop bikes off at these shed depots, or champion sheds, where the sheds are kept warm and dry. And then we can get them collected, and then they get recycled and upused. So it's a lovely way for our shed network to connect into this. It is such a great partnership, and we know already we've a lot of sheds who they're already doing some work here. And in fact, this shed, we know, Gory, they're probably going to speak about it a bit later, are doing a bike course. So sheds are interested in this. We know there's an interest in the Good Bike project, and also, as we all know, giving back to the community. Giving back is a big part of what sheds do.
Yeah, and you touched on it there, that there are different levels that sheds can get into, but as you say, there is more of an interest, I suppose, in all things cycling. I mean, there's definitely been a resurgence in, say, the last 5 years, where the economics of cycling have shifted, and there's another element as well that is within sheds, and that's the nature of the workshop. It's down to the brass tacks, I suppose, if you like, that shoulder to shoulder element that's within sheds, that camaraderie of working together on a shared project. The bicycle repair just fits right into that. It's something you can do on your own, but it is a shared, I think, it's a shared thing to have a few lads around being able to do it, learning about it, looking at the basics down to selection of bikes, and getting into that whole area. I mean, as you say, there's an interest within sheds. The shed here in Gorey has partway through their own bicycle course. I know there's a shed in Kilkenny. They have a workshop. They're working on bikes, and there's other ones around the country. But I suppose the thing that we're all interested in doing, really, and that sheds will come into, is that thing of making it a structure and making it a bigger structure. It's when you roll in the community of doing it in 5 sheds or doing it in 10 sheds, you might have a few more workshop. That's when it begins to sort of extrapolate, and the numbers really, really crunch up. Paul, tell me, please, how can a shed get involved? What are the different levels you see for sheds? What's the potential in that?
Okay, well, as we touched on before, if a shed can just look at its location and do a radius of 25 kilometers, and think about how many bikes are languishing in people's garages. And it's like within the men's shed community, there will be men's sheds who have no interest in bicycles, who are only woodwork or only a certain thing, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I would like to try and do here today is speak to the ones who would be who are interested in bicycles, who may have worked on bicycles when they were kids, who kind of see the bicycle as just see it more than, like, for instance, I'll give you an example. If I was to do a course on electrical engineering, and the teacher of the course was to give me a job to do, and I went at that job with a knife and fork, he would know that I have absolutely no clue about electrical engineering whatsoever. There are people out there that it's the same situation with bicycles, but there are also people out there that like getting stuck into fixing bicycles, that like the idea of restoring a bike. There's an opportunity now with hopefully an association between the Good Bike Project and the Irish Men's Shed Association to find those people and to come up with a structure and work together because I saw it in the men's shed in the prison. There's a few guys that took to it really well, and I'll give you one example. Like I said earlier, there's a good bit of mulligan needing to be done on a lot of these bikes. You know, thankless work, okay? Yeah. Thankless work, but needs to be done. I have one guy in the prison who said to me real quietly there a couple of months ago. He said, "Paul, I'm not really getting the mechanics. I'm not really getting the tools and threads and stuff. Some of the stuff you're talking about." He said, "But I really like cleaning the wheels." Yeah. Right? Yeah. I can say this because he and I are really close now, and he knows I have nothing but respect for him. I think he might be slightly autistic. Is it okay to say that? Like okay, but that's
what they say is it's a spectrum, so we're all on it.
The spectrum, yeah, brilliant. He sits at a table, and I have all the tools that he needs, all the sanding blocks and wire brushes and real fine steel wool, and I'll give him a pair of wheels that are absolutely manky and get them back like new. Now that's a thankless job.
Yeah.
But it is a very, very helpful job for us. So, like, he is an integral part of our team at that. Make no mistake about it, because there's a couple of guys in the prison who refuse to wash bikes because they think they're above it. There's a couple who refuse to fix punctures because they think they're above it. Yeah. Fine, yeah. Right? A team is made up of and one of my jobs at the prison has always been to kind of keep the whole team, the holistic nature of it, from the guy who cleans the wheel to the guy who does the fine tuning of the gears, you know, on the fancier bikes. It's when you have a team working, you know, each one has got to respect what the other one does, and I don't stand for any guys looking down on my man cleaning the wheels, because.
But you know, this is, we always say, like with any shed, everybody finds their place.
There's a place for every man in a man's shed.
Right. Yeah.
You know, that is
that's
what
replicated.
Sheds are. Yeah, that's what sheds are built on. That
find out what you're good at and try and become spectacular at it.
Well, it's also about coming into a space, perhaps contributing your experience and knowledge that you have from a previous life, sharing it with other people, or you can go into a shed and you can learn new stuff. But it is about finding stuff that you want to do, that floats your boat, you know, or gets the wheels moving, whatever it is. But that's no different to any other shed. You know, I would say that men find what they're interested in, and they're able to enjoy it, they're able to contribute. You know, that makes you happy.
So hopefully some of the people listening here will be saying to themselves, I would love to get stuck into restoring bicycles, and because then let's try and meet these people, and let's try and come up with a plan.
Absolutely, and I'm sure there are.
The other thing though as well is, sheds, there's a number of ways in. If sheds might not want to be involved in the, as you say, the de-rusting or the wheel cleaning, but they might like to be a depot. And the powerful piece in becoming a depot or storage space for this project is it reinforces the idea of sheds and the shed networks as social glue. Because what they're doing is they're providing a space that benefits the community, and we know that sheds do this. We speak a lot in this organisation about benefits to individuals, and we should talk more about the benefits
to the community
of having a shed there. And I think this is probably a partnership that invites that sort of engagement. It's sheds being part of something bigger in the community.
Absolutely. I mean, we've noticed it across the time that sheds, we sort of say it's a community connector, because the other various groups that may be within a community, they'll tend to kind of use the shed and come through the shed, and the shed ends up connecting the tidy towns, the schools like this, the Good Bike Project you're talking about, parents and integration. It's doing the integration piece. I have a question for both of you, and it's sort of the big dream one. Where do you see the partnership going? Where can this lead to? Where could it be in whatever 5 years or however much time? Where do you see it going?
For me, unfortunately, I'm going to give you a pretty boring answer.
I can do boring.
I need more bikes. I want to get more people cycling. It's that simple. The benefits of what we're doing is clear for all to see. I just want to get more people cycling, and I do need help to do it. I need more help to do it, and the more people we have cycling, I think it was not Da Vinci, but Einstein that said, when I see a person on a bicycle, it regains my. Oh, I should have written this down. This is not good. Well, can somebody Google Einstein? Einstein and bicycle. It restores faith in humanity or something. And he's kind of on record of saying that. Yeah. It's just so I'm pretty single-minded, and it's just all about the bicycle with me, and the benefits come from that. Of all the stuff that the Men's Shed Association's doing. It's just fantastic, and it'd be great if we were a part of doing our respective jobs together.
Yeah, more bikes. Rebecca?
I'm back at you with Einstein with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who say, how could I forget to mention the bicycle is a great invention. It's Anthony Kiedis. So one of the things I think, I can see this partnership definitely rooting with the sheds and growing, and we would want to support that. Works for us, as we've just said, but also I think it builds on getting more people mobile on bikes for all the reasons we've spoken about. In the 1950s in Ireland, almost every household had a bike, and that was rural mobility. It's people doing their urban commute. We were speaking earlier, social change in the 1930s, it was a huge piece for women to have a bike. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier about in Africa, you heard a story that when a woman marries a man, he's obliged to give her a bicycle. I love that.
Absolutely, 100%. I should have researched that as well. Absolutely 100% obliged to give her a bicycle.
Yeah, love that. A dowry, the bike is the dowry. I think also, look, there seems to be a resurgence. We see the growth of wonderful greenways around our country, Bike Week, we have to give it a shout out, 9th to the 17th of May. That has grown, the NTA and Cycling Ireland and the sports partners coming together to encourage people to get out on the bikes. And there's over 900 events now, which is amazing. There's exhibitions about bikes, there's
I'm doing
cycle relays, all sorts of stuff. Try out cycling a bike. If you haven't been on a bike, I would say to the lads listening as well in sheds, if you haven't been on a bike, there's plenty of opportunity to go out and try out a bike as well.
Mm-hmm. And during Bike Week, the Good Bike Project is doing some bike assessment days for to have your bike assessed by a proper bike mechanic. So we're kind of involved in our own little way.
That's super. Bike Week, yeah, the 9th to the 17th. We're going to do the plugs. How does a shed, how should a shed and how should people, an individual, you're saying that you've got stuff in Bike Week. We want to plug Bike Week as well through the association, but I suppose the two things, how do an individual, how do they get involved, how do they get in touch, find out, and then a shed, how should a shed, what should a shed do next if they want to be part of the project?
There's a great shed down in Carrick and Shannon, and they approached me a little over a year ago and said that they heard about what we were doing and they'd like to help. So firstly, talk amongst. I don't know how the whole shed kind of situation works, but talk amongst yourselves, and if there's an interest, send me an email and we'll take it from there, or contact Rebecca or Ben at the association. There's loads of ways to get in contact, but talk about it amongst yourselves first, and if there's interest, well, we can talk.
And your website, The Good Project?
thegoodbikeproject.com.
Thegoodbikeproject.com.
Yep.
So that's your first point of call if you want to get in touch.
And if anybody is interested in Instagram, there's some. I know it's the social media thing. Not everybody likes it, but I do believe that our Instagram page gives a very good reflection of what we do. There's lots of posts on there that will give you a real good insight into our philosophy, and you can see some of the before and after work. Some of the before and after work you genuinely won't believe, and that's what I like about some of the before and after work that we do, because some people don't believe it. But if you're into the Instagram, obviously not everybody is into Instagram, but if you're into it, give it a look, because I think it's worth a look.
Yeah, super. Are there elements that need to be in place, Paul? If a shed wants to look at becoming a depot, are there things they need? Do they need? I'd imagine they need space anyway.
Bikes are kind of bulky, and they're awkward, and they're not for everybody, and that's fine. If you have space, that's number one. If you don't have the space, you just can't do it. What I would suggest is, if a shed wants to get involved, a great way to gauge the interest is to have an article written in your local newspaper, whatever your local newspaper might be, and we can help you with that. And say that you want to get involved, you want to be a champion, a depot, you do believe that there's bikes in people's garages, and honestly, if that article gets no interest whatsoever, then it's not a runner.
Yeah.
If that article means that people contact you and say, I have a bike, I have a couple of old rally bikes that have been in my garage for the last 15, 20 years, would they be in? Then this is just for your own help. Don't say, okay, well, we got to get a full set of tools, and we got to get a work stand, and we got to get. Let's take it in steps. And the first step is to have a conversation amongst your members, and then if there's interest, then have a conversation about how to promote the fact that you want to become a drop-off point or champion shed, and then get an article written in a local newspaper, and then you will find out if there's interest. And if there's no bikes, it's not a runner.
Sure.
If people decide to get involved, and if people in the community and say that, oh, we can drop our bike off at the men's shed and it'll go to the Good Bike Project, and it might even go to prison and be restored in Mountjoy Prison, then it's all levers forward.
Yeah, yeah, great. And Rebecca, in terms of the shed and what we can do in the IMSA, if a shed is interested.
Yeah, get in touch. You can talk to me or talk to Geraldine, Rebecca at mensheds.ie, and Geraldine at mensheds.ie, or give us a call on the main number, and we will support you with Paul. And as Paul said, this is about inviting sheds to engage on their own terms with this. There's a number of ways in, really, and one of the best things you can do, we always say, is talking to lads who are already doing it. And we know there are sheds, as Paul said, in Carrick and Shannon, who are involved in the project, and Collinstown, who were on featured on Nationwide. They're also taking part in it. So if you want to find a bit more, you can actually talk to a couple of other sheds who are already involved and find out what's involved. So get in touch if you're interested, and we would be delighted to tell you more about the project.
That's absolutely super. Do you know, it's been a real pleasure. I love that we have the opportunity, I suppose, to have some involvement in a project that's worthy on so many levels. But it's also it's one of these things that builds connections, and in sheds, really, that's down to the basics. That's what sheds really are all about. There's two things that you'll find in every men's shed up and down the country: it's a kettle and connection. And it's great that we can use this opportunity, and hopefully thousands of more bicycles will find new owners. So I want to thank you very much, Paul, and I want to thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
A special thanks goes out to the Gorey Men's Shed. Going to have a little chat with them now about their own bicycle course which they've been doing, and what's going on in the shed here in Gorey. Thanks very much, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm here in Gorey Men's Shed with Dermot Devereux, who is the treasurer. Thanks for coming along, Dermot. I just wanted to ask you a few things about the shed as we're here recording the podcast. Tell us, when did you start off, and how did it come about?
The shed is 17 years old, and now I wasn't involved in it, but I'm led to believe, I think it was in the top, or the first 3 sheds actually opened in Ireland at the time. And it goes back that far. It had different homes, but about 7 years ago we started a process. I was on the council at the time, and we started the process of trying to acquire site and a shed. And like most sheds around the country, it's not the shed that's difficult, it's the site for it, getting the site. But once we were able to identify the site with the help of the then district manager, Philip Knight, who was wonderful, Wexford County Council. Yeah. He was inspirational with us. Philip erected this shed, put it up, and we were basically in here. We don't pay a charge, we just pay the bills. But then we have a kind of a counter arrangement with the council in the sense that at Halloween we'll make all the witches for the town, at Christmas we'll do up all the big wreaths, that type of thing. Yeah. Patrick's Day we'll do the planters, and at the moment we're fixing street furniture. So but I think the one thing it did was it proved that if a local authority gets involved and funds the shed maximises what it gives back to the community, and I think that's the key to how this has worked.
Yeah. And I mean, you're ideally located here. You're on the main street now in Gorey, which is a vibrant town, and the community here in Gorey is become really strong now in the last few years.
Oh, it has, and you see, the beauty being in the town is now I have to drive in, and some of the lads have drive in, but most of the men can walk, okay? And it means then from a socialising point of view, if they want to leave the shed, say Thursday night at 9 o'clock after whatever, and drop in for a drink on the way home or whatever, it's all very, very handy for them to do that. So it is the perfect location, and look, we're not hiding the fact we're absolutely thrilled with it.
It's a fantastic space. It is a gorgeous space for people listening in. Lovely workshop space. Very large workshop space you have in this lovely kitchen we're recording this in.
But I think for us, we work so closely with the local authority. We have a great relationship with the district manager. We work on it, both sides, and the gardening staff of the town. Anything we can do to help.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key for the shed. You have to show people that we can give. Okay, you give us a lot of money to build the shed, but we'll give you back.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sheds they're very much at the heart of communities, and we speak a lot about sheds and the benefits to individuals, but also communities are better for having a shed.
Absolutely.
Communities are better, and we see that on so many levels, you know. Tell us a little bit, how many men do you have on the books, and what kind of activities, what kind of stuff do you get up to?
We have 20 members, so of that we would have maybe 14, 15 that pay, their monthly subs, and of that then we'd have perhaps 10 lads who would be really, really heavily engaged. Like the woodworking is huge, the workshop is huge, but we have like the likes of Paul into photography and a lot of gardening and various other activities like that. So we've a very eclectic mix actually, because when I started here first we had a retired orthopaedic surgeon, we have a retired Garda chief inspector, then we have a couple of carpenters, I was an engineer, Pat is a counsellor, and then we had 2 or 3 lads who just had retired after being farming for 60 years since they were children.
That's an extraordinary mix of people.
Bringing all them. But I'm only treasurer here at 4 years, but the one thing that struck me about the whole thing is when men retire, it doesn't matter whether you were an engineer like I was or guard inspector, the minute you leave work, it's like being born again into your 20s. Well, it genuinely is.
What a lovely way to describe it.
And if you say to any of the lads in here, do you miss work? No, I don't. It's a whole new. It's lovely, whereas when you're in work, say like you are, you're obsessed with what you're doing, that type of thing. But the shed is just happy. You just there for 3 hours, drink coffee, and just talk, and it's fabulous. It really has a huge future.
That's an extraordinary mix of people. That's so interesting though, because that is our experience as well. That I can't think of any other place in a community where you get that mix of people. Like when you come into a shed, it doesn't matter what you did before. When you come into a shed, you're a shedder. It's like you put on this different coat. It's lovely, isn't it?
The shed, the term shed kind of sometimes clouds over what's actually going on. But we had a visit here from Rathdrum recently, 8 or 9 of the lads from Rathdrum came on with a wonderful morning. And like we'd never met them before, but the minute they came in, it was that common factor of just everybody being there for the same reason. So we're very, very lucky. Very, very lucky.
Yeah, I suppose. Look, that sort of mix of urban and rural does throw up that thing. You're in town, but the catchment, as you say, the fellas around who've been farming and been agricultural. And then Dermot, I know you do the various activities, but you run you've got courses going on here as well. Yeah,
we have Pádraig is our secretary. We have an excellent chairman here, Pat. I should say that he's very, very good. And then Pádraig, our secretary, is retired school principal. So Pádraig and we looked at certain courses, and again, there's funding there for everything. So the Waterford Wexford Education Training Board, they funded a course on small engines last year, 6 nights. In October. Was fabulous. And this year we decided, when we heard about the bicycle project, we said, look, so we have an expert in now for 5 nights over 5 weeks teaching how to do bicycle repairs, all that type of thing. It's fascinating. I mean, I have no interest in bikes, but I sit there watching, just watching what he's doing. And so we run those courses, and we probably maybe start to double up and run a few more on various topics. But yeah, they're very successful.
Yeah, and it's look at the shout out to the WWETB. They're funding courses all over the county, and they're a super resource to be able to tap into.
Can I ask you? I wonder how would you. We know there are other men out there who would benefit from being part of a shed. How would you promote the shed, kind of in the community, or do you feel men understand what happens in your shed, or?
I think they do. I think first of all, it's not everybody's cup of tea. Like a lot of guys my age now, for instance, who are retired, would rather go say to French's, somewhere maybe have 2 pints of Guinness and talk. To lads about sports or whatever, that type of thing. And I think the shed just attracts a different kind of person who. That kind of a lifestyle. Now you'd be amazed the amount of members we would have here who, for instance, would never drink. So it's come in here, have a cup of tea. It's just a different model of the same thing. But I don't know. We've had people who have joined up and left because it didn't suit them. The activity didn't suit them, or it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. So it's not easy. But then you have to have a limit as well. Like when you have a workshop like we have, if you have any more than 5 people in there, your insurance is affected, etc. So it's probably better that we have sheds all around us in Ballycanoe and Kinmuckridge and Arklow, have one, Rathdrum, Aughrim. It's probably better that more sheds would open up rather than
rather than expanding the particular,
And often it's about, the shed that is most local to you might not be the best fit for you. It's very often you might have to go a village or 2 villages away or a town away to find a shed that is the right match. I mean, we would often find that. It depends on your interests. If somebody asks us, about a shed, it is about finding one that suits you and your interests and where you are in your life.
That happens us here with people. We had a gentleman come in here from another shed, and he came in here and he was all enthusiastic, an elderly man, and we said, of course you're welcome. And what we do is we bring someone in for a month or 2 with no fees, just so they can walk away if it doesn't suit them. But the minute he came in here, he just realised this wasn't what. He wanted one where there was music and that type of thing.
And there's plenty of those.
Yeah, and so that didn't work out.
And what's next on the agenda? You're about halfway through the bicycle maintenance.
Yeah, we're really finishing up on that now, and the chairman Pat is keen to explore maybe getting away a little bit more from woodwork and maybe getting involved in that bicycle project.
Yes, okay.
I think anything like that is just, you see, it's another thing about you have to kind of be retired to understand.
Right.
That when you're retired and you have grandchildren of your own and you see what's going on out there, if you get an opportunity, like this morning our local Gael School, the little tots, they were looking to make up mud kitchens for the summer, and they asked us for a quote, but the chairman said there won't be any. We will make them, and we'd be delighted to make them, and we'll sponsor them. So there's a lot of that. So we're hoping to get involved, I think, in the bicycle project.
Great.
And we'll take it from there.
It's clear, kind of giving back the contribution that sheds make. That's really what you're.
Well, we had the manager here, Philip Knight. I don't mind using his name. He was the manager of the municipal district here, the council. And Philip embraced. When we met Philip first, the whole concept, myself and the then chairman, he was 100% behind us. I mean, he found the site, he got the work done, he paid for it.
Yeah.
So we do owe. And he's.
But you've probably given it back tenfold.
Well, not yet, we haven't.
We're working on the bill, huh?
But on a community level, I mean, it's not lovely as well that little kids are, and you're giving stuff to them and making them.
That's what the grant enables us to do. Because we get a good bit in the grant here in Galway because we're active.
Yeah.
And that's what the fact that we get the funding from yourselves from head office frees us up to say, yeah, we do that project,
Yeah.
and that.
Yeah.
If the grants go or come under threat, it's definitely going to put sheds on the back foot.
It is. It is. Without a
We'll
shadow.
have it's something we're going to have to take a serious
No.
serious look at. And to be honest with you, I'm already planning here as the treasurer with the chairman that take into account that this is possible,
Mm-hmm.
so that everything we do here now, we're trying to do it at a break even.
Yeah.
It's not about making money at the end of the year, but you certainly would want to
be
break
covered.
even.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah, it's about sustainability. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's about keeping the lights on, the
Yeah,
doors
keeping
open.
the whole place
That's
It is, yeah.
taking over. So,
It is, Can you sum up your what do you get out of the shed?
what do I get out of
Yeah,
it?
what do you?
I, do you know something, and this is the gospel truth, I was so busy when I retired, and then I retired and I was a county councillor, and they approached me to help them get a shed, and I just fell. I don't know what it was, it's just the whole atmosphere when you come in here. The lads are brilliant. We've more rows than a family. We spend more time apologising sometimes to each other. But it's just, we have a really good chairman, we have an excellent secretary and a very good committee, and I come in here 4 days a week and I love it.
Yeah.
Every morning.
Yeah.
We'll have your cup of tea. And why pay $3.50 down the town for coffee when you can get a coffee in here for less than €1 a day?
Love it. Love it.
And have a bit of an argument, a bit of banter
Yeah,
at the same time. And kiss and make up at the end of it, of course. Yeah. No, it's
Well,
great.
listen, Dermot, you have a super shed, and I want to
Great
thank
shed.
you so much for opening the doors to us and inviting us in.
And Ben, the chairman would want me to say to thank the staff in the office in Tullamore. I mean, the pressure they must be under to do those grants. And if you make a mistake, you get a phone call. You know, you don't get an earphone. You get a phone call and a bit of guidance, etc. And they're generally very popular among all the sheds. So it's just to pass that on to them.
Great, I will do.
Yeah.
Thanks very much, Dermot.
Thank
All right,
you.
you're very welcome.